Chained to a pole in the foglands isn't exactly somewhere that you want to be. Kia ora, and welcome back to Kenshi, Tale of the Blade. And yes, things are not starting off well for Cat. As he returns to consciousness, there is a tugging at his arm as he screams out, his voice echoing as it joins the chants of nearby fogmen. Their lust for blood will not be quelled. Cat, you need to escape. And so, while the fogmen are distracted, Cat attempts to do just that, picking at the lock until click. But these fights are not so easily won. The screams of others fill Cat's ears. It seems a number of escaped servants from the Holy Nation have fallen prey to the fogmen too. Whisked away from the others, Cat would need to escape again. His spines were unlocked, but now wasn't the right moment. The fogmen were distracted, but he'd still need to regain his stamina. He was placed facing one of the escaped servants. She, like the others, had a 1,000-yard stare. The bite marks across her torso partially explained why. The screams of pain were growing, and with them, the chanting of the fogmen. There were too many to fight. With broken ribs and bruised limbs, this wasn't a fight he could win. But he could try escape. Try run into the fog. They wouldn't miss him, would they? He would be abandoning these poor souls to their fate. But that was life now. Run or be eaten. And so he fled. Run, Cat, run. But of course, his captors are going to follow. Luckily for Cat, only one has kept pace. And right now, that's a fight he can win. And finally, a moment to wrap up his wounds. Cat is far from okay, but at least for the moment, he is out of that frying pan. His little friend, Dog, was still out there somewhere, lost in the fog. Cat could retrace his steps, try and find the little one. But for now, he would need to keep his senses honed. For in the fog awaited many, both seen and unseen. Even the sun is hard to see in fog this dense. Which way does he travel now? Which way is out? For now, the only right option seems to be forward. And so, into the fog he shall walk. The landscape was starting to shift from forest to hills of stone and ancient steel. Cat, as ever, was never truly alone out here. Seeing something small and crumpled on the road ahead, there's a moment of hope for Cat. Yet it's only a hiver, one of the fogmen. Yet this one was not killed by him. Did they fight among themselves? Were there other creatures of prey in these hills? Or were there others like him? It was a question that wouldn't take long to answer. As to the wary eyes of Cat, a wall was in sight. A place of refuge, right smack bang in the middle of the fog, and the ones guarding the gates were no fogmen. A garb familiar to Cat. These were shinobis, similar to the clan he grew up with. One of the guards in a strange mask spoke up.
A new guy, eh? Must be tougher than you look, making it here to the city of one piece.
I barely made it here. What can you tell me about this place?
People don't make a habit of visiting here. If you're lucky enough to make it to Mongrel, you're stuck in Mongrel. The plus side, no one will find you in this town. If you have someone to hide from, that is.
The guards snigger in unison as Cat's eyes instinctively shoot back to his blade.
Around here, you'll find mostly outlaws and ex-slaves.
What are you trying to say? I don't have anything to hide from.
Look, I don't give a damn who you are or who you're hiding from. Ease up. I got bigger troubles to deal with.
Okay. So, how do I survive here?
If you're staying, keep your head down. If you're heading out, you should avoid the death yards altogether. The mist tends to swallow travelers up, shall we say? The same goes for the floodlines up north. If you make it out of the mist, that is. People who go to the floodlands, they don't come back.
The death yards? What happens to people in the death yards?
No one really knows. Some reckon it's to do with evil spirits. And then you've got others who believe in the curse of the mist. People get lost, lose their sanity, and starve to death.
Oh.
People here, the ones that haven't lost their minds, that is, they don't talk about the fog.
And what about the floodlands?
It is a place where adventurers and treasure hunters go. And never come back from, like always the idiots. Some say the killer machines get to them. But me, I reckon all those missing people saw something they were not supposed to see.
Thanks for the warning. You know of any way I can earn my keep around here?
At the moment, no. Jobs are dry. Come back in a few months, eh?
Fine. I'll manage. If what the guard was saying was true, this place, Mongrel, it could be exactly what Cat has been searching for. A place to disappear, a place to be forgotten. He doesn't need to be Big Bane, but he does need to keep that sword safe. Less than a few hours ago, he had a fogman gnawing on his arm, and now he was back in civilization, and a kind of civilization that he hadn't tasted for a long while. The hospitality of the hivers was workable, yet conversing with them was difficult. Being separate from a hive mind, it's difficult to pick up the nuances of culture. But here, this place Mongrel was much more reminiscent of the hub where he grew up. There was even a branch of the Shinobi Thieves. If he desired, Cat could make use of his membership. However, doing so might still be dangerous. He had to leave his last family behind, because of the blade, because of his past. But what they didn't know couldn't hurt them. Plus, there were many other ways for an enterprising young lad to make a living. But while Cat was safe, there was one other still out in the fog, still alive, lost, and without their master. Wounded and alone. Dog yet lives. Not all hope was lost for the young pup, though. While wounded, Dog still had a keen sense of smell. And what little trail was left might just lead Dog back to Cat. It would not be a journey without peril, however, as we now know the true dangers of the fog. There were distant screams, as always, but they were not the screams of Dog's master. Finally, the fog starts to give way, the welcoming sight of walls. While confused, the guards thankfully don't see Dog as much of a threat. The journey for these two to reach this place of somewhat safety was long and arduous. In between running here, there was lots of sneaking too. But finally, Cat and Dog are reunited again. Here, Cat could rest, recover, and deal with the wounds he picked up in the fog. No doubt his blade would garner interest here too. However, it had kept him safe so far, and so the young man would keep that blade close. This would be the start of yet another chapter in the life of Cat, and the tale of the blade. His time in the fog was yet another reality check. While he has improved much as a swordsman, there is still so much to learn. And it's been a little while since we've sat down and had a look at Cat's stats. His toughness is certainly improving from getting knocked down and getting back up again. However, we are going to need to improve both his strength and dexterity. The blade of the phoenix he carries is classified as a katana, and therefore dexterity is still super important. And so we'll need to try and find a way to train that while here in Mongrel. That is, if Cat and Dog are to survive long term. Dog is still a junior, just a pup, and their attributes and skills reflect that. In time though, as Dog grows, and Cat too, the two of them will scale in power. And so in the next, Cat will continue his training. There's certainly enough enemies out there. And once he has enough strength, there are buildings here that provide maps to some of the locations the Shinobi Guard alluded to. But whether or not those tales are enough to pique the interest of Cat, we'll have to wait and see. There is much that this town provides in the way of marketplaces, construction yards, accommodation, armorers, and even a bowyer. A rare sight for sure, but most of the folk that walk around Mongrel seem to have a junk bow or two about them. The Shinobi Guards even have their own barracks, in which a unfortunate fogman now resides. Perhaps they seek an interrogation of sorts, or perhaps they're of some import to the fogman. We don't know yet. But I am certain that Cat will be able to lend his blade at least to one of the many causes. But I am certain that Cat will find a reason or two to swing his blade in this town. And so, that's where we'll find ourselves in the next episode. Cat's first night here won't be easy. Certainly, the walls of Mongrel stand tall. Yet, as Cat tries to rest, those screams, they'll be staying with Cat. It seems that for anyone that ventures into the fog, that their life will most certainly be at risk. Perhaps it doesn't always need to be that way. Maybe, just maybe, a very sharp sword might make all the difference. Thank you all for joining me for another chapter in the tale of the blade. And apologies that there's been such a gap between this episode and the last. Life, as always, can be rather tumultuous, but tales must be told. And hey, if you enjoyed this one, please consider leaving a comment or like to let me know if you enjoyed the show. I'll be seeing you all in a fortnight. And for now, I have been Rycon. You have all been awesome. And until next time, stay